Studhawk versus the competition on the market for cutting wood with any type of saw guide. These are all saw guides, a mitre box, a frame saw, the Studhawk in a box set of 2, a 45 and a 90 degree, hanging card set of 2, same saw guides, you can see them better here, these are them on the table. The Amir mitre box, mitre saw guide, which just like the mitre box and the frame saw, you have to put the wood into the box. For years, tool manufacturers have been preoccupied with putting the wood into the tool. And as you can see, when we get to a big piece of wood, it doesn't fit. So only certain size pieces will fit into either of these instruments. With the frame saw and the mitre box, the latest development is a bench hook, which goes on the end of the bench, stop it skidding around. The basic problem I've found, 30 years of using both of these instruments, is this. If you look right here, that's a lot of clay. That's several millimetres. Whereas when we rub the saw face down the guide of the Studhawk, the amount of play that we've got is from the edge of the blade to the edge of the tooth, which happens to be 0.16 millimetres. So with this mitre box and this frame saw, people have found them hard to use. As I say, alignment is slow, and the other primary fault with these is, and I'll just have to put that aside for a second to show you the normal cutting action of any carpenter with a saw for wood. Here's a cutter started already, it doesn't matter. But the action, as you can see, is downwards with gravity and the weight of the saw. With the mitre box, we're cutting all the way across 4 inches of timber, and really we could cut through with much less effort the thickness of the timber. So in essence, the mitre box, the frame saw and the mitre box, with both of these you have to cut all the way across the wood, which requires far more effort than cutting through the thinner part of the wood. So basic faults with them. With the mitre box also, it's very difficult to get your hand in here. How do I hold this wood to this wood? Prior to the bench hook, these things used to skid around all over the place. So they developed the bench hook. Still not a very easy item to use. Another problem with the frame saw, the operative has to do is he must support the weight of the saw on the blade whilst cutting. So it requires quite a knack, quite a skill to use this device. However, what we now have are the 2 Studhawk saw guides, 45 degree and 90 degree. So let's watch these in action. We'll use that piece of wood. So, an imaginary mark on our wood, put our saw guide on, put our hand on the palm plate, which is why it says palm plate here, so that every time an operative knows where to put his hand. Here's a thumb slot. This is for different thicknesses of wood. So you can hold here, hold here, you can hold here, so that the thumb would have to work for different thicknesses. Anyway, let's watch this and see how it cuts, and we'll check it with a square. So here we go. Now let's take our rather expensive combination square and let's see how square that cut is. I'll put it on the nice flat side And as you can see, that's a good square cut. Let's try the 45. See what sort of a mitre we can cut. This nice simple little Studhawk 45. Now we'll check that angle. Again, another nice cut. Nice lack of light there. A very good cut for 45 indeed. So just to recap, there's one I didn't mention, faithful right cut. Not a bad effort in my opinion. Little hooks for square, not as simple as the square edge hook to go on the table or on the edge of your wood. That goes like that. And magnets to keep the saw held onto the guide face. But those magnets, there's too much friction, and we don't really want any friction when we're cutting. But previously, in my opinion, prior to Studhawk, the best product innovation for people that can't cut straight and how to cut square, and this one does another thing as well, which is measure. So not a bad effort, but we obviously think the simplicity of the Studhawk with no moving parts, screws and bits can drop off of this, it's huge to put in the tool bag, not easy to store. These go into the tool bag beautifully easily. Problems finding any space in a cupboard to put them. And also they are good for widths of wood that you cannot get in your frame saw, or it would be difficult. This one just fits in. As we previously said, if you came to wanting to cut skirting like this, you'd be struggling to hold this into a frame saw. You can see that the legs aren't tall enough. So limitations with this instrument as well as the mitre box, and these limitations are now alleviated with the design of the new Studhawk saw guide set. Thank you.